Hugh Woozencroft and Leanne Sanderson with you on Game Day Countdown. Have Manchester United turned the corner after 3 wins in their last 3 games? I don't know. Arsenal are top, perfect record so far. It's going to be a very tricky game on Sunday afternoon. But let's talk about Manchester United and the club as a whole. You went to the game, the Manchester United win over Leicester last night at the King Power Stadium. United up to 5th. What did you see?
I think we played well in the first half. There was certainly a period of time where we were putting just basic stuff. You know, the game against Brighton and Brentford, we were absolutely woeful. And I don't think it could get any worse than we did last season, and we did in those games. I was at the Brentford game away as well, and we were absolutely dire. But I do think we've turned a corner, but I'm not going to get carried away. Now, I'll enjoy it. I enjoyed being there last night. It was brilliant. The fans were out in voice, you know, and it was absolutely brilliant. But I still don't think the second half performance was great. Now, I think Martinez, Malacia, Varane looks like the Varane that we bought, you know, originally what we bought him for. Because when he came in, I think he's been quite underwhelming. But the only thing I will say is Antony coming in through the door, which he usually plays on the left or the right. He doesn't usually play as the out-and-out centre-forward. I still think we need an out-and-out centre-forward. I really do. Like, at the game last night, you know, Marcus Rashford, I love him dearly. All Manchester United fans do. But if anyone was at the game last night, because sometimes when you watch the games live and you watch it back on the television or you watch the highlights, it completely looks different. Some people might think he had a good game, but if you were at the game last night, for me, he can't be leading the line. You know, he could barely control the ball, the fundamental basics of football. Now, he had a good game against Liverpool. He did well, but it's not enough. You can't just have one good game every so often. And like I said, I like Rashford, but for me, Cristiano Ronaldo being on the bench, and it's not because I'm his biggest super fan, that's not the point. With the goals that he brings, it's not all about high press you all the time. You have to have the quality. And for me, hopefully, Antony coming in is the answer, but I was happy that we got the win. I don't think we were great against Southampton, but we got the win. Similar to what Sophie was saying as an Arsenal fan, you know, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like, what more can Manchester United do apart from win the last 3 consecutive games? But I don't think any Manchester United fan is getting carried away. And anybody that did question Erik ten Hag, I think is ridiculous, because why would you question the manager at that point? Why would you question him?
He lost 4-0 and he was 4-0 down after 25 minutes.
Yeah, but he's only just come in and he made a difference. Yeah.
I know, but it was an extreme result against Brentford, and you can understand why people are going to question the man. Man United, it doesn't matter whether it's the second game in charge or not. You're 4-0 down after 25 minutes. Right,
but you have to give the man a chance. Like, I know what you're saying.
But I can understand why questions were asked. It was such a bad performance and result.
But the bad performances have been happening for the last 5 to 10 years, Hugh, under different managers. We've had Mourinho, Van Gaal. The list could go on. You know, so at the end of the day, you have to give the manager an opportunity to make it better. He brought the players in on that Sunday, ran them into the ground, and it clearly worked, because against Liverpool, we're a completely different team. And since that moment on, I think we've looked different. I don't even think it's necessarily because we're running more. I think the quality looks better. And there was a time last night in the first half, we were popping the ball out from the back, and I was like, wow. And I looked to the guy next to me, and a fellow Manchester United fan, and we were looking at each other as if to say, is this really our club? Because at times we were struggling. Ultimately, right, you might have a day where you're not playing well. I've been there. You've not had a good game, but you have to compete, Hugh. And at Brentford, when I was at that stadium, if I wouldn't have been with my friend, I would have left. I was embarrassed. Not because we were losing. I
actually messaged you. Have you left
yet? Yeah, you did. But everyone felt sorry for me. No one was even bantering me. People felt sorry for me because I'm like, no one likes losing, but it's how you lose. And under those circumstances, it was embarrassing. But we do look like we've turned a corner, but we're not getting carried away.
All right, I'll give you my analysis on Manchester United. Just want to remind you, still West Brom 0, Burnley 1 in the Championship, 50 minutes played. Hit live games on the talkSPORT app. Ask your smart speaker for talkSPORT 2, and you will be taken straight to the Hawthorns, where Burnley are on their way to a 5th straight win in the Championship under Vincent Kompany, unless Steve Bruce's West Brom can find something in this second half. Look, I wanted to talk about Manchester United's transfer dealings, because I think there's some excitement in that there is more quality in Manchester United's team, and I agree with that. They have brought in better players. My worry is that, firstly, the money that they've spent, the demographic of player that they've brought in some of their signings, if you like, don't point towards a coherent strategy. A lot of the clubs in the Premier League are moving forward because everyone is on the same page in terms of what they do in their recruitment. And actually, it was quite a scattergun approach from Manchester United during this transfer window. And although they've added better players, have they really covered the areas that we thought they needed most? Centre-back they did, and they got Martinez, and they paid a premium for him. And we'll see if that is worth the money in due course. They needed a striker for me, and I don't think they got one, even though they signed Antony for £85 million. he's not a striker.
Right.
From what we've seen, he's not a centre forward.
I'm surprised. I said to you earlier we weren't going in for a Aubameyang. I'd have taken a Aubameyang at Manchester United.
Right back is an area of concern for me. Dalot and Wan-Bissaka, not good enough quality. Again, in time, you can't fix every problem in one window, but I thought that was one of the ones that needed to be addressed.
Dalot's actually been decent of late, though. I agree with you, but he's actually been decent.
Long term, I don't think he's going to be Manchester United's right back. Again, not really as high up the list in terms of things that they needed to address immediately, but still think they did really need to address that. And this is the big one for me. They went hard and early for Frankie de Jong in this transfer window, and they offered in excess of £80 million because they wanted that ball-playing central midfielder, someone that could dictate the game, dictate the tempo of a match. He'd worked with Erik ten Hag before. That was the type of player that you wanted, and you ended up with Casemiro. I don't see that as a success.
I think Casemiro...
No, and again, I'm not saying that there isn't more quality in that area. There is.
Well, they're different players, aren't they?
Exactly, but if it was so key for you to get a Frankie de Jong that you spent 3.5 months chasing him, and you've ended the transfer window without that type of player, and I don't think, by the way, Christian Eriksen is that type of player. He's been forced to do that role at the moment because Manchester United didn't get someone in. He's an intelligent player, but that's not where he's played throughout his career. If you ended the window without that player, the one that you spent, not even that player, that type of player that you spent 3.5 months, even probably longer, chasing in the transfer window, for me, if it was that key for Erik ten Hag and he didn't get that player, then that for me is a bit of a failure.
I don't think Frankie de Jong wanted to come, though. Because if they can go and spend 82 million on Anthony, surely they can put up the money to pay Frankie de Jong the money he's owed by Barcelona.
But listen,
and then we get him.
It didn't have to be Frankie de Jong. It doesn't have to be him.
No, but we wanted him.
I know, but what I'm saying is, that type of player is what Manchester United, right at the start of window, clearly felt they desperately needed because they offered huge money for that type of player. And they didn't get that type of player in the window. Now, again, for me, overall, I'd still give them a decent grade, maybe a B+, Manchester United. So I'm not slamming them too hard. But the other thing, of course, is you look at it and you think, how many of these players are going to be at Manchester United in 3 or 4 years' time? I think it will still take that long for them to be a really competitive team. Were these signings for the long term or for the short term? And I want them to have that, again, be on the same page in terms of the strategy. Why are we signing these players? What is the long-term aim? Will we ever get any money back on them? That's going to be a no for half of them. So, it was a bit all over the place.
But I think that's how our recruitment's been, though, Hugh, for the last 2 years.
That's why I'm still worried as a fan.
We chased Sancho for 2 years and then got him and had no clear plan.
I was hoping that was going to be done with. Transfer sagas were going to be done with. Everyone would be on the same page. All of these new appointments in terms of Man United's football recruitment would have a plan. And it still suggests to me, even though they improved the quality in their team, that they didn't really have a plan. As it was pointed out a little bit earlier, they went from Rabiot, didn't they? And at Bologna, Arnautovic as well. And a week later, they're spending huge money on Casemiro and Anthony.
But I do think you have to give credit where it's due to a certain degree. I understand what you're saying about a clear plan, but I'm still happy with the fact that we've got better players in, because we could be sitting here now without signing Casemiro, without signing Anthony. And where would we be still with Fred and McTominay in the midfield? So for me, I think short term, you're right. They've made players to make the team better now. And I think that needs to happen, Hugh. I really do. And obviously, with players like Harry Maguire being on the bench, Cristiano Ronaldo being on the bench, I still think Cristiano Ronaldo has a role to play at Manchester United, but I do think it's going to be hard for Harry Maguire to get back into this team because Varane and Martinez, their partnership they seem to have had, and it's not even just their ability on the ball. What I like to see is similar to Chiellini, and Bonucci at Juventus when they had that partnership. They hit each other. When they make a tackle, they're like, those type of things. Yeah. And I'm not, and it isn't always a goal that you have that, but I watch everything. When I go to watch Manchester United and Dalot, they're getting involved and they're kind of encouraging each other. And even after the game yesterday, I know things can go great when your team's winning, but I see a togetherness, and I don't think that's based upon Ronaldo not being in the starting 11. That is not based upon one player not being in the 11 why there's not a togetherness.
Game Day Countdown with Hugh Woozencroft. Every Friday night from 7 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.